While we're talking about accounting firms, let's talk about client satisfaction. Busy season is a great time to start doing customer satisfaction surveys. And in my experience, very few firms do them or do them well. Are you familiar with the Net Promoter Score, David?
Yes, I hate it.
Really? Why?
Because it's always gamed, and Intuit was one of the first companies to use Net Promoter Score, and you'll see this all the time when you take your car to the car dealership to get service, and at the end they ask you, "Is there any reason you can't put an 8 or 9 or a 10?" If somebody asks you this question, so I always answer 7 every time because it messes up the numbers on Net Promoter because you don't count the sevens and it drives people mad because they're like, I just needed to get them to become an 8 so it would actually count. But it's always gamed. People game the system.
It's not always gamed. Come on, be fair.
It's not always games.
It can be gamed.
It can be gamed, but the other part of it that's really stupid is we live in a day and age where you can measure if people are actually recommending your product or service because of social media. You can tell if somebody says, hey, I used OnPay and it was great. You can measure that now, and you could never measure that before. That's why it was like, it was a hypothetical question. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid.
You're really screwing up my flow here because the whole article is why firms should use NPS scores.
I'm sorry. Well, you didn't write the article, did you?
No, but I agree with it. I actually disagree with you about NPS. So in your experience, it is gamed because you've worked at software companies. And the problem is if you put too much weight on NPS scores for evaluating your people, they're going to game the system, and they're going to tell the people who are getting the survey, please, you have to give me a 10 or I'm going to get fired, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you have to give me a 5 as the Uber driver or I'm going to lose my job kind of thing, right? So that's why it inflates the score. If you do it properly and you don't punish people in that way, then the customer will be more honest and you'll get useful information. And the beauty of the Net Promoter Score is that so many companies do it that there are really good benchmarks around it. According to this article, only 27% of accounting firms use Net Promoter Score to enhance client satisfaction. It's a very simple survey that you do with your customers where you ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our product or service to a friend, family, or colleague? Only 27% of firms are doing this. And the average in the accounting profession, in the industry, is 39%, which is considered just above average by global service standards, 39%. But let's put this in context. That is like about where Verizon Fios is. Costco gets 79. Vanguard gets 70. A score of 50% would be considered excellent. So we're kind of mediocre as a profession.
And the exercises of doing them is actually the important part. Everybody who answers 6 or lower, you should be calling up, having a meeting with, talking to them. And that behavior of a firm owner doing that that's what's going to change your firm.
Yes.
It's not so much the survey. People just like, well, I ran the survey. Now what? You actually have to do the exercise of the process of the survey, which is reaching out and talking to your clients and customers.
You have to follow up on that. If you don't, it's worse than if you never did the NPS score. I tried to implement NPS surveys in 2 firms that I worked at because I knew it would be an incredibly valuable way to collect feedback and find out how we could improve. And both times it was blocked by partners. What's also great about this is like you can get the positive feedback and then you can follow up and say, hey, can we use you as like a testimonial? Can we use this as a quote on our website? Would you be interested in referring other clients? Yeah. It's a great tool for that.
Send them a gift card. Hey, if you leave a 9 or 10, we'll send you a gift card. Don't do stuff like that. You just skew your numbers and you're lying to yourself when you do this game. And that's what's silly about people gaming it is you're lying to yourself. It's Emperor's New Clothes. So.
No.